It's not your business. Carousel tells Contractor General he has no jurisdiction over its sale. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Archibald Gordon.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, speaking out, Acting Chief Justice on the system and the first public utterances since his appointment.
Zooming in, investigators close to identifying perpetrators of attack on Falmouth Hospital.
Morning, tragic death of St. Mary 9-year-old leaves a community in tears.
Treat us with respect. Aki Village vendors in Portmore appealed to the municipality.
And in business news, Sagicor, the Playa Insurance Company, combines its hotel assets with Playa Resorts.
There's also sports commentary and weather in the primetime package. But before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, does Black History Month have any significance to you?
Share comments online, facebook.com/Television Jamaica and tweet at Television Jam.
Please stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
Special welcome to folks on onespotmedia.com.
There are more questions this evening on whether Telecommunications Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley should have approved the sale of Carousel to South African company Involution Limited.
Contractor General Dirk Harrison has taken issue with the sale. Carousel has also weighed in on the matter, saying the Contractor General does not have any legitimate interest in the matter.
TVJ's Andrea Chisholm has a Primetime News follow-up.
Contractor General Dirk Harrison has raised questions about the sale of Carousel to Involution Limited, a South African company. He made reference to the Telecommunications Act, which indicated that ministerial approval was needed for the sale.
If the license to be assigned or sold, they must have the approval of the minister. It says that the new person cannot assign his license or transfer his control of its operations without the prior approval of the minister. But yet still we heard, and this office for the first time heard in the news, that there was a transfer from October last year.
Some aspects of those claims were backed up by Carousel. In a release, it said the minister was formally advised of the company's decision to sell its majority interest on October 4, 2017, and Carousel has been fully compliant with every request for information received from the minister. When TVJ News spoke to Dr. Andrew Wheatley on Friday, this was his response.
I am not aware of any sale that requires the approval from the minister or the ministry as made. So any recent sale of entity within the telecommunications sector in recent times. So I for one cannot speak for any approval of sale for any entity or player within the sector that would have required ministerial approval.
Section 17(2) and 3 of the Telecommunications Act did not make reference to a sale, but it did say a licensee may, with the prior approval of the minister, assign its license or transfer control of its operations. The minister also has to approve an application for assignment or transfer. In the meantime, Carousel has taken the Contractor General to task, saying the Contractor General reserved his most ardent efforts for his scrutiny of its business. Carousel says its decision to sell shares in a private company does not require regulatory approval, also stating that it does not concede the Contractor General has a legitimate interest in the matter. Carousel went on to say, however, that the Office of the Contractor General is entitled to inquire into the conduct of public officials in the discharge of duties concerning any matter within its jurisdiction, adding that it's therefore no surprise that questions were being asked by Dirk Harrison as he sets the stage for his final days in office. The company also stated that the Contractor General's questions are reasonable and appropriate because of the business being conducted by Carousel. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
The Acting Chief Justice, Brian Sykes, is this evening questioning whether the justice system is struggling with a lack of resources or an ineffective use of the resources that exist. Justice Sykes made the comments as he addressed a case flow management workshop for court staff at the Jewel Paradise Cove Beach Resort and Spa in St. Anne on the weekend. TVJ's Vashon Brown has more.
It was the first major utterance from Brian Sykes since he's been acting as Chief Justice following his appointment at the start of February. The acting appointment of Justice Sykes has drawn criticism from many. The Prime Minister has since indicated that he intends to recommend that Sykes be appointed to the post permanently, but there's still no word on when that will be done. Speaking at a function on the weekend, Justice Sykes says oftentimes the cry coming from the court is that there's a need for more resources, but he questioned whether the need is for human or material resources or a need to better use the resources already in place.
Because oftentimes when we hear of backlog, we tend to think of throwing more bodies at it, and sometimes it may very well be that what we need to do is to utilize the existing resources that we have in a more efficient manner. This means taking a closer look at the cases that we have. Where do they originate from? Where the person's traveling from? Do the cases need to be shifted from the main station to an outstation that will be fairer to them, closer to them, and consequently more efficient?
Justice Sykes also points out that with planning and data collection in the courts, there will be implications for judges.
The data that is being collected, the software can track objectively the performance of individual judges.
He says that the individual efficiency of judges can now be tracked, looking at how long it takes from end of submissions to delivery of judgments. This, he notes, will affect the management of human resources by court administrators. Justice Sykes also states that the judge is not just a person who has knowledge of the law and evidence, but is also a manager of resources.
The days of long-winded advocacy are over. Talking for the sake of talking because they have the ability to speak. They are over. Lengthy, unnecessary cross-examinations. Over.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
In the meantime, today marks 26 days since Justice Brian Sykes was appointed to act as Chief Justice, quote, until further notice, end quote. Justice Sykes was appointed on February 1, with the Prime Minister coming under fire for comments which suggested the head of the Supreme Court was being placed on probation. Since then, the government has indicated that Mr. Sykes will be appointed permanently to the post. It's now 13 days since that announcement was made. This evening, TVJ News is asking the government, is the paperwork to facilitate the appointment completed, and has a date been set to complete the process 26 days after the initial appointment?
Investigators are close to identifying the persons who were involved in yesterday's incident at the Falmouth Hospital in Trelawney. The accident and emergency department was damaged during an attack by relatives and friends of a man who died at the institution while undergoing treatment following a motor vehicle crash. Deputy Superintendent of the Trelawney Police, Winston Milton, said a suspect who was being questioned in connection with the incident was released.
Our investigation so far have not gathered any evidence implicating him, that individual in the incident. We are continuing our investigation in earnest with a view of bringing this matter to closure, at least within a reasonably short time. Hopefully by the end of the day, we should be at a point where we're able to determine who the perpetrators are.
In the meantime, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton and President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Carmen Johnson, have condemned those who damaged the Falmouth Hospital. The incident has also raised concern about the safety of health workers. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
On Sunday, staff at the Falmouth Hospital in Trelawney ran for cover as stones and bottles rained down on the accident and emergency department. The glass of the building was shattered and other parts of the compound were damaged. Some employees were injured by the attackers, who were upset about the death of 34-year-old Dwayne Faulkner, the driver of a car which crashed along the Martha Breed Main Road. The Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, says its members were among those injured. Its president, Carmen Johnson, expressed alarm at the attack.
Emotionally, they were very unstable and distraught because they thought that they did all that they could and they did their best, and no persons proved ungrateful and persons sought to address their concerns in a violent manner. When I spoke with the supervisor last night, or one of those who were present, they were doing much better emotionally. The injuries are not very severe, and so they were sent home and they were at home recovering.
The NAJ president says the violence played out in society continues to find its way into health institutions. It has driven fear in nurses.
Rather than concentrating on giving health care, you now have to be thinking about the safety of these individuals. So you're trying to figure out, where do I move this individual to? How do I move this individual around? Or how do I protect this individual? You have also had persons who have gone onto the compound to seek to get back that individual, to get to an individual.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has also condemned the attack.
The police has investigated. I understand that 2 persons were arrested. It certainly brings home the difficulties that healthcare workers face administering their services in the public health system. But it also demonstrates that citizens need to appreciate and understand how the system works. I've asked for an investigation, and I'm waiting. Hopefully by today or tomorrow I should get some further information from the Regional Health Authority.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the NAJ president gave an update on the ongoing wage negotiation between nurses and the government. Ms. Johnson says the last offer received was 16% over 4 years. She, however, said the offer is inadequate.
So it's either we were told that we ought to accept one of 2 options. First option was a 6% increase in year 1, 0% in year 2, 5% in year 3, 5% in year 4. Or option 2, which speaks to a 5% in year 1, 2% in year 2, 4% in year 3, and 5% in year 4. When we looked at it and analyzed it, even after 4 years, my level 1 nurses don't even earn 10,000 more per month, waiting 4 years. And when you look at the time value of money, the time value of money changes.
Our top story this evening, Carousel tells Contractor General that he has no jurisdiction over its sale. Still ahead, treat us with respect. Aki village vendors in Portmore appeal to the municipality. And in business news, Sagicor combines his hotel assets with those of Player Resorts. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Continuing the news. A 9-year-old student of the Port Maria Primary School in St. Mary is dead and his father in critical condition after the motor vehicle they were traveling in overturned on Sunday evening. But as TVJ's Krista Campbell explains, it's still unclear how the crash happened.
The tear-stained face of a mother in mourning. Crystal Burns is beside herself as she tries to come to terms with the loss of her 9-year-old son, Cowain Barton. Under the stranglehold of grief, she recounts the last encounter with her son on Sunday.
I left church and went to get ice cream. Father come and pick him up and he said to me, so later, Mommy.
Sadly, the next time Ms. Burns saw her son was under circumstances no mother wants to experience. Sometime after 7 o'clock Sunday evening, the unthinkable. A motor vehicle crash on Stennett Street in Port Maria, St. Mary. Cowain and his father were in the vehicle. The father, who was driving, has been hospitalized in critical condition. Donald, who was at his tire shop nearby, says he saw the tragedy as it unfolded. He said the vehicle did not appear to be speeding.
We just see the man come good, and we don't know how the vehicle just go across the road, lick the curb wall, and flicking at the GPS fence, and finally going at the GPS fence. You just a spin pupalik, and just a spin round at the road. Well, me can't tell us when the baby drop out of the vehicle, but when we run go out, the baby dey on him belly.
Little Cowain, who was a student at Port Maria Primary School, was rushed to hospital, but he did not survive. Family members say an entire community is mourning the loss, as Cowain, fondly known as Parry, was a well-loved child.
Everybody in our community love a little youth. Because that's coming like he's a special youth. He's coming like a hero. Because when they keep him birthday party, the place can't hold people for so much.
This is a great loss for both family, for my family and Crystal family. We live together as one. It's like I lost a son. That's how I felt about Parry. When Parry is around, everybody have to laugh. He's jovial, fun-loving.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
There are more calls for focus to be put on what comes after security forces operations in crime-plagued areas across the country. At a recent town hall meeting at the Boulevard Baptist Church in Kingston, Acting Commissioner of Police Clifford Blake listed the limited social options that follow these operations as a major challenge in the crime-fighting effort. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
2 zones of special operations and a state of emergency in St. James are the recent crime-fighting operations being led by the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, in light of the crime situation. But the man who is now in charge of the JCF is asking the question many have asked before.
What after the state of public emergency in St. James?
Acting Commissioner Clifford Blake was one of the panelists at a town hall meeting focusing on solutions to crime across the country. President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Howard Mitchell, who has also been calling for a multi-sectoral collaborative approach to crime fighting, was also a panelist. He is reiterating this call, not only for fighting crime now, but for after the current operations.
Coming out of that, you establish a almost permanent committee made up of the elements that interface with the social intervention, with justice, with the police. And they monitor the progress of the plan that you have made to make sure that when you have an election, nobody drops the ball. Whoever comes in runs with it seamlessly. And that committee lasts for as long as is necessary to bring the challenges that we have within acceptable ranges.
It's a view that the Commissioner is not only in agreement with, but now believes is critical if Jamaica is to see any long-term impact on crime.
Unless there is a collaborative effort and a plan after the state of the public emergency to transition what is being achieved here now, we run the risk, once the security forces move, of all the elements coming back in. So I am in total support of Mr. Mitchell.
But something like an EPOC formula?
Something similar.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Back in the news again are the people of the Aki village in Portmore St. Catherine who staged a protest at the facility today. The vendors complained that they are being unfairly treated by the Portmore Municipal Corporation. TVJ's Kalisha Williams reports.
3 months ago, the corner of Dyke Road and Lakespin Road in Portmore came alive with the newly erected Aki Village, bustling with commercial activities. But as cozy as Aki Village appears, the vendors say it provides no comfort. They point to a pileup of garbage, no electricity, and what they described as unfavorable treatment from the Portmore Municipal Corporation as issues contributing to their discomfort. In a bid to improve business, they started to expand their shops. But that plan was short-lived.
I'm saying the team, come mash up my table, mash up my fridge, take out my fridge and my table, take out me sit them out of my shop, dash me jelly them a grown, and then take away everything what me have over there. And at this me at the same half a week.
The vendors say they have been compliant with all the regulations in place regarding the expansion of their shops, but they have been treated as violators.
After when me spend me 200,000 add on for my shop, him come mash it up and put it in a truck and carry it away yesterday morning. Take up my fridge full of juice, and him take it away with all of my juice and my jelly and the drinks that when I sell and I picnic them up for gas school.
None of them approach to clean up the garbage them. This whole away of a food and glass permit. This is rat infestation. We can't afford to do this. When you check it out and mash up the place them, you have more things to look on in the compound, more than just the people and business we are trying to expand. How can we grow if we don't have an expansion?
Shortly after the vendors protested, the Portmore Municipal Corporation called a press conference to clarify the problems.
We taught them how to, see how they could promote their businesses and these things. And one of the things that we stressed was the cleanliness of the area. You can't be handling food and have these old things coming on the property.
They are bent on adding or extending some tacky piece of old boards or stuff that they're taken from their present old location to attach to the building. And we don't want that to distort the aesthetic, so we want them to desist and follow the simple diagram that we have prepared for them.
It was also brought to our attention that some vendors owe rent to the corporation, some for up to 2 months.
The contract that they sign, they must adhere to it, because we are not going to allow them to vend there and don't pay.
The municipal corporation has agreed to meet with the vendors to discuss a solution. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, another protest, but for a different reason. Taxi operators in St. James withdrew their service today, bringing attention to their plight, poor road conditions. TVJ's Lana Gay Franklin reports.
Scores of students and other commuters were left stranded on Monday morning after taxi operators plying the Tucker to Irwin route in Montego Bay, St. James withdrew their services. The taxi operators numbering 30 gathered at the St. Clavers Transportation Terminal calling for better roads.
Over a few years we had some serious bad condition roads, and now it even becomes worse because we hardly can drive on it. It comes like almost a manhole or pothole or swimming pool, whatever it is.
At this current time we are unable to continue our operation in regards of providing the service. Our vehicle has been deteriorating over the years, and we have tried dialogue in many different areas to see how we can get the road to be fixed. And so far, I have not seen that being taking place.
Last Friday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was in the area for the handing over ceremony of the estuary housing development. There, he pointed to the road work taking place in the area as part of a major all-island rehabilitation work by the National Works Agency. Residents say since then, no additional work has taken place.
Because Andrew Holiness is coming, Holiness is coming on Friday. Them start patch out the road on Thursday, right? And then after Andrew Holiness pass Friday, then take up back equipment them. Nobody, no work Saturday, no one work Sunday, no one work today and Monday.
I don't feel real good about it, because I figure it should have even fixed out before even the Prime Minister comes, so I don't know. The Prime Minister come and it's still no good.
The operators have pledged to continue protesting until the roads are fixed. Lana Gay Franklin, TVJ News.
In this week's edition of A Ray of Hope, help for a child with a heart condition.
A Ray of Hope is brought to you by Courts.
Get courts protection in the event of redundancy, accident, flood or theft.
Meet Jada Nelson, a youthful and vibrant 4-year-old from Bull Savannah, St. Elizabeth, who according to her mother is just like any ordinary child her age. But Jada is not just any ordinary child, as she was born with a heart problem, a condition which left 3 of her valves blocked.
She turned blue at times, her lips, her finger turned blue, or she have a high fever. Or she have a high fever. So whenever time that that effect take her, I have to run with her at the hospital, either Mandeville or in Kingston.
So far, Jada has done 1 of 3 surgeries to fix the problem at the Boston Children's Hospital in the United States, but for the other 2, her mom, Patricia Lewis, says it's a struggle to even start saving.
Because I cannot work, I have to monitor the baby. Nobody else in the yard don't understand. It's just me. And I was feel so uncomfortable at times, crying at times, all the time, crying. Sometimes she will hush me and say, "Mommy, don't cry."
Ms. Lewis says getting help was even harder because no one truly believed her daughter was sick.
It was me one all along on my journey, walking the street of glory, begging help, get insult sometimes. People says nothing done to the baby. People say nothing to the baby is money I want to build a house, and at the same time my baby is suffering for some help until I meet Mr. Myers.
This is Arlington Myers, to be clear, a returning resident from the United States who lives in Brinkley, St. Elizabeth. It was after meeting Jada in an ice cream parlor, he wanted Jada to become part of his family. And so after making contact with the Boston Children's Hospital, who agreed to do Jada's second surgery for free, he decided he would cover the other end, Jada and her mom's airfare and accommodation.
That's the way I was being raised.
I've been blessed in abundance, and I'm just giving back. These are just the basic necessities of life, and I don't see a problem. Money should not stand in the way of a poor, precious child getting sick or die as a result of medical care.
It was a bittersweet feeling for family members as Miss Lewis and Jada prepared to leave. Goodbye hugs and kisses, a reminder of the risk Jada is about to take again, but nonetheless they wished her the best. The two left the island on Tuesday, where Jada will undergo surgery on the 28th of February. But before leaving, Miss Lewis ensured she said this.
Thanks to Mr. Myers again, and I will not stop saying thanks to Mr. Myers because he made me feel so good.
With your ray of hope, I'm Janella Precious.
A Ray of Hope is brought to you by Courts.
Get courts protection in the event of redundancy, accident, flood or theft.
And before we go, an editorial note. On Monday, February 19, a story was aired in Primetime News about the construction of a bridge in Chesterfield, St. Mary. The story carried a comment from Communications Manager of the National Works Agency, NWA, Stephen Shaw, saying he does not know anything about the bridge. Having reviewed the story, TVJ News is satisfied that Mr. Shaw's comment was in no way seeking to contradict the Member of Parliament, Dr. Norman Dunn, nor undermine the government's efforts to build the bridge. We apologize to Mr. Shaw for any inconvenience our story may have caused. And time now for the responses from our friends on Facebook and Twitter, and Archie is at the smartboard.
Thank you, Doreen. Here's our question this evening. We're asking, does Black History Month have any significance for you? Here's a couple of quick comments. Here's the first. Yes, it does. It reminds me of what I can do today, but that we couldn't do years ago. A constant reminder of what our black people have accomplished. Here's the second comment. It would mean more if we erased Columbus and all the other pirates from our school curriculum. Our history did not begin with slavery. Third comment. It most certainly does. The Most Honorable Marcus Garvey said, a people without knowledge of their past history and origin is like a tree without roots. And here's our final comment. It's an opportunity for me to reflect on black history as a whole, pre-enslavement, enslavement, and post-enslavement, and not a deficient part as was taught in high school when we started from Christopher Columbus or our ancestors as slaves. The history told this way offers more substance and pride. You know, our people had advanced civilizations. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/Television Jamaica and your tweets to @TelevisionJam. Business news and news from overseas. They're after the break. Please stay tuned.